Welcome back. This morning we are having breakfast with Iowa U.S. Senator Joni Ernst. Good morning, Senator, and thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Well, we're so excited to be having breakfast with you. We're going to be talking a lot about a handful of topics this morning. Many of the questions are straight from our viewers, but I have one of the hardest hitting questions to start with. What's your favorite donut?
Oh, my favorite donut. Cake donuts are my favorite. And actually, this one is very pretty. It's got a lot of sprinkles, fall colors, but plain cake donuts are my favorite.
You're speaking my language. I totally agree with you.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, in all seriousness, let's get to some serious questions here. I just want to jump right into healthcare. It's a big debate. It always is. So a lot of our viewers emailed all this. I mean, this is only half of my stack right now. So, and a lot of them were healthcare questions. So multiple viewers wanted to know, why are you saying to repeal and replace the Affordable Health Care Act after it failed several times in the Senate?
Well, because we've heard many stories, and we just heard a story earlier about the insurance market. Right now in Iowa, we only have one statewide insurer on the exchange. And Medica has threatened to raise their rates. And what we have now are renewals going out where our families can't afford those rates. There's nowhere else to go, so they're dropping their plans, which means we have families that are uninsured because of Obamacare. So we have got to figure out a pathway forward. And I remain hopeful that we can come together, find the right answer, and move ahead. But we need to realize that what we have right now is not working. It's not working for our families out there. It is too expensive, way too expensive.
All right, and now onto the topic of pre-existing conditions as well. Our viewer Tara wrote in and she said, what policies do you support or would you change in regards to pre-existing conditions?
Well, I think we all agree that keeping pre-existing conditions covered is extremely important. And that is something that I have said over and over again over the past number of years. I do have family members with juvenile diabetes. That's a pre-existing condition. We want to make sure that families like that, individuals like that, can still receive the care they need at an affordable rate. So we do have to pay attention to that and understand that there are those that will have different needs than just everyday citizen out on the street.
And since, you know, Las Vegas, the shooting, terrible shooting that happened, that's still on a lot of people's minds, our viewer Diane, she says she believes that since that shooting, the victims there are going to have pre-existing conditions and many who don't have health insurance. So she wants to know, how do you reconcile supporting the NRA while taking away, this is in her words, while taking away health care for victims of that same gun violence?
Well, we're not taking away coverage for those folks, and hopefully they have wonderful exchanges where they have insurance. Again, we do need to watch for pre-existing conditions. Two separate issues. I do support the Second Amendment. Gun violence is never okay, though. We need to just put that out there. That is never okay. But we do need to make sure that those with pre-existing conditions are covered.
Right. Okay. Well, since we're on the topic of the Las Vegas shooting, anytime a mass tragedy like this happens, the gun control debate always resurfaces without a doubt. So what is your stance on a solution if there is one? Well,
we do need the ATF to go back. We know the bump stock was the issue, I think, in this particular shooting. And again, it was horrifying. We did lose an Iowa woman in that attack. It's heartbreaking. But the bump stocks, okay, I think there's a loophole there that somebody discovered. They used it for evil intent. So I have joined with Senator Dean Heller of Nevada and a number of other colleagues, going back asking the ATF to go back and relook that language. And if the ATF doesn't act, then Congress will.
Okay. Well, now we're going to switch a little bit gears from gun control and healthcare. And we're just going to talk a little bit of some of the Trump administration and your campaigning as well. So early on in the election, you said you did not support President Trump, but you said that you did support your party. So, and he also named you candidate for vice president. So what's your support like for the administration now?
I think his policies are spot on, and so we do need to work through those policies, like finding a way forward with the Affordable Care Act. It's not working. We need to find a solution. I support that. When it comes to tax reform and making sure our lower and middle income families keep more of their own dollars in their pockets, that's his policy. We want to support that. When it comes to infrastructure and building up our nation's highways, our bridges, locks and dams, I support that. So I think he's doing a great job laying out various policies that work for the American people. We in Congress have to find a way forward. So I do support him on a number of those initiatives. There are times that I don't agree with the president, and I'm happy speaking up about that. But we do have a relationship where I feel that I can respectfully disagree, and he's accepting of that. May not always change his mind,
right,
but at least he's accepting of that.
Okay, and in what ways do you see that his policies benefit, say, the average Iowan?
Well, again, looking at tax reform as well. One great way, everybody comes out a winner in that situation. Those lower income families will keep more of their dollars in their pockets. Middle income wage earners will see the same. But when it comes to Affordable Care Act as well, making changes to that and making sure it's more market driven, we have competition in the market, that will be really important for bringing those prices down, because we have a lot of hardworking families right now that just simply can't afford their insurance. So there are a number of things that he is doing for the American people, Iowans in particular. I have my eye on that and make sure that any policy that's out there is working for Iowa families.
Okay. And let's talk about when you were campaigning. You campaigned on a promise that you were going to go to Congress and you were going to make them squeal.
Yes,
so
yes.
Can you name some actions that you have done to make them squeal?
You bet. Okay, I love this. There is a bill right now which I'm really excited about, and I authored this bill in 2015. It was passed in the House and Senate. It was vetoed by President Obama. We call it the Presidential Perks Bill. And what this will do is actually cap the personal allowance that is given to former presidents. We know that former presidents walk out the door, and like Michelle Obama and President Obama, they just signed a $65 million book deal. But the taxpayers pay for all of their little personal expenses, and there is no cap. There is no cap on it. It's true of the Bushes and President Carter. They just can turn in whatever bills they have, and the taxpayer pays those. We shouldn't do that. So we're going to cap that allowance and make sure that if they are wealthy, they can support themselves.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And one last question. Since there's so many things going on in Washington, D.C., when you go, what's the mood like there?
Well, honestly, I think the media shows the divisiveness in Washington, D.C. What they don't show are the really great things that are happening, where we do come together as parties and we work hard on initiatives. We have had some successes, and one that I'm particularly proud of, it falls in our veteran space, but very important to Iowa, is the Global War on Terrorism Memorial Foundation. It was a bill I authored. It was signed into law by President Trump, passed through the House and Senate unanimously. We will be able to build a memorial on the National Mall honoring those that have served in the Global War on Terror, and we know that many, many Iowans have been involved in those actions.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for showing us the other side of that. We
Yeah,
appreciate it. And we appreciate you so much for coming on here this morning,
Oh,
bright and
thanks for
early.
having me. Thanks
So,
for the donut.
yes, of course. Thank you. And thank you to all of our viewers who emailed in your questions for our Breakfast With. We'll be right back.